Welcome back to Stop Ruining My Childhood, a sometimes nostalgic, sometimes cynical look back at pop culture. Today I have a special review. I'm riding solo on Spider Man Brand New Day. Yep, you heard it right. Megan did not go to the theaters to see this with me, so I'm going to do a quick down and dirty review where I look at the good, the bad, and the ugly of this long awaited film. I was really excited to see this film since, in my opinion, Marvel hasn't really released anything great in a number of years. I have to tell you, I wasn't disappointed, which in itself is a huge change. This was by far the best movie with Marvel characters since probably Infinity War in 2018. So, 8 years of mid movies, and it turns out that the best Marvel production company is Sony. So, who figured? So, let's get into it. So, what was the good here? Well, there's quite a bit to be honest. The action scenes are the first good that I've got listed. These action scenes and special effects on the film were fantastic. Ironically, way more fantastic than the Fantastic Four. Whether it was Spider Man swinging through New York or some of the fight scenes with numerous villains, the scenes managed to grab my attention and not put me off with overdone green screen or terrible CGI. That was a huge change from some of the MCU movies that have been going on, and I really liked the action scenes they had here. It really grasped you, and I really got into it. The second good piece we've got here is Tom Holland. Tom Holland did a really great job of not only picking up where he left off as the wall crawler, but acts in a way where you can feel that this is not the high school novice Spider Man that we've seen in previous movies. Spidey has matured through being an Avenger, battling Thanos, and the loss of Aunt May, and every connection he has had in his personal life. Nice job, Tom. He really pulls us in as a viewer, and you really feel emotionally connected to Spider Man in this film. You see him mature, whether it's physically through some of the mutations that he's struggling with, or just in his relationships and trying to get back the small semblance of connection that he has outside of his superhero life. The next piece that I thought was great here, or in the good category, is the return of Savage Hulk. Love the return of Savage Hulk in this movie. To be honest, I didn't need Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner or as Professor Hulk. I feel like those personas have kind of worn out their welcome. I want to see some good old fashioned smashing and really feel the threat that comes with the Hulk being involved. The piece of having the Hulk as a hero in a comic book, in a cartoon, in a movie, whatever it is, the aspect that comes with having a team up with the Hulk is understanding that as much of a benefit as it is of having the sheer raw power that the Hulk brings, there's also that adverse piece of not knowing what's going to happen. Right? He's savage, he's unhinged, and the fact is there could be way more collateral damage than there is even benefit to fighting villains. And we see that here in the fight scene that the Savage Hulk has with Spider Man, with the Punisher trying to get involved and realizing that he's just kind of outmatched against the Hulk. I mean, a guy with a gun is not going to do much against, you know, the Savage Hulk. It's just unbearable. And but Spider-Man we know is in a kind of another level, right? At his peak, Spider-Man's strength is almost at a point where it could not match, but at least hold its own against the Hulk. And I really like that. Not to mention, Spider Man has the advantage of his intelligence and the ability to kind of um, change strategies in the moment, where Savage Hulk is just kind of completely chaotic. And I really liked this scene where the Savage Hulk came about. Kind of they got Jean Grey out of Mark Ruffalo's mind, and then the Hulk took over. And you can see he's been pent up for a long time and just waiting to kind of be unleashed. And so that's great. I hope that the MCU sticks with this and that we see more of the Savage Hulk. The other good that I had here was the Punisher team up. The Punisher and Spider Man first met up in Amazing Spider Man 129 way back in 1974, before I was born, and I'm an old man. Since then, they've teamed up or fought dozens of times in the comic books. And to be honest, John Bernthal as the Punisher is one of the best castings in the MCU. I hope they send Netflix a Christmas card every year. John and Tom have acted together multiple times, and they have a personal relationship outside the film, which really shows. The two have very contradictory chemistry that's really likable here. especially in this film where Peter is struggling with all of his personal losses, and we know that Frank is defined by the loss of his family, right? Yet they both go about being a hero in very different ways. Spider-Man is all about being kind of a classic hero, saving everyone, trying to limit the amount of collateral damage, where the Punisher is just completely violent, right? He doesn't really care. He just kind of goes off on trying to take out the enemy as quickly and as efficiently as it can, and that doesn't mean that he's against killing by any means. Now we did tone the Punisher down a bit in this, but that's to be expected. This is a Spider-Man film, right? Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, so you're going to have a little bit more of a PG rated type Punisher, but I'm okay with that, right? In the same way that if you had Spider-Man cameo or joining into a Punisher show or film, you could kind of up Spider-Man's, aggressiveness or his language a little bit because that's what's expected in that title. Right? So I feel like here it's okay to tone Punisher down a bit because he's in more of a family-friendly film. And it still works. You didn't lose the Punisher in his persona by any means. I think if anything, the two almost it's almost an unlikely buddy comedy in a adventure superhero movie, and I really like that piece. I also like the fact that, to be honest, because he doesn't have MJ, he doesn't have Ned in this. Um, the Punisher is the only one he can really rely on. So when it comes to the point where he has to try to protect MJ, left at he's kind of left having to rely on Frank Castle to help him protect her. And I really like that connection he makes. He puts a lot of trust in the Punisher on that aspect. The last piece of the really good stuff from this movie that I liked is Spider-Man is a hero. Throughout the film, Sony manages to do what the MCU has really struggled with and not denigrate or tear down his core characters. There is a hero's arc here, and Spidey does have challenges, but it's all done with respect. And I really like that. And at the end of the day, the choice that Spider Man makes at the end to save Jean Grey, he's a hero at his core, right? It's not making him seem less so that we can bump up other characters or tear him down to make others look better. No, we still get the core of Spider Man. Part of that is Tom Holland, I think, because I think he really does a great job in doing Spider Man. But at the same time, I think the writers of the film kind of got it. You can tell when a writer really connects with their audience, but also with the main character, right? You didn't see that as much in James Gunn's Superman. I think James Gunn struggled a bit to connect with Superman, and life, liberty, in the pursuit of happiness, truth, justice, the American way. Those are things that Superman holds up, and Spider-Man's a little bit like that himself. Spider-Man is the predominant Marvel character, and I think you have to treat him with some respect and a little bit of um, due diligence, and I think that they did that here. So I was really happy to see that. It was a change also from some of the MCU projects that have gone on lately, and I think that this is steering it in a good way. Unfortunately, the problem this is Sony, right? So it really wasn't a lot of the MCU had a little bit of influence here, but really Sony does Marvel better than Marvel does, and maybe Marvel should kind of rent out Sony to come in and kind of right the ship because I know that they're trying to do that, and Sony seems to get it a little bit more than the creatives in the MCU do right now. So let's move to the bad. I only had one thing listed in the bad category, and that was the new Avengers. There was a cameo here with kind of the new Avengers. This was obviously a few scenes that were jammed in by Marvel to try and keep Yelena and the new Avengers relevant for the upcoming Doomsday film. It felt like it was crammed in. It felt rushed. The main scene between Yelena and Spider Man, where they meet in the bathhouse, is not done well. I know some critics didn't like the fact that Spider Man has to strip down to his mask, and that's kind of humiliating, but I'm willing to give that a pass for humor's sake. To be honest, it did give me a little bit of a chuckle to see him just in the mask, right, and a pair of like underwear or swim shorts getting into a hot tub. I get what they were kind of going for here. The part of the scene I had the biggest problem with was Yelena's constant reference to how the new Avengers handle the big stuff and Spidey handles the small potatoes. Are you kidding me? Like, let's review. The New Avengers are a team of inexperienced, low tier heroes that struggle for relevance. While Spider Man has already been an Avenger with the real team, he personally fought Thanos twice and has been to another planet. If Yelena really wants to lead the best team, she should be asking Spider Man for tips and insights. She should be calling him up and going, "Hey, Spidey, can we meet in the bathhouse so you can give me some tips on how to be an Avenger?" That would be a lot more relevant and a lot more realistic. The problem here, and we've seen this in some other MCU projects, is there's no continuity or memory to the MCU's own history. And it shows here, right? To be kind of downplaying Spider Man when we've seen all of the world saving he's done up to this point, right? He's fought alongside Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, right? Completely out of the same league as, you know, Yelena and the Ghost, right? And even John Walker, who I like John Walker's character, but again, John Walker is a discount Timu Captain America, right? That's what he was. He was created that way, and so I just really think that again, this was a spot where they should have given Spider-Man the respect he deserved. And I feel like the only reason this whole scene was here was because they're trying to keep the new Avengers on everyone's mind because they're going to jam them in Doomsday when it comes up. So now, the ugly. I really did love this movie, but the one piece that I really, really struggled with was Jean Grey. And I want to preface this by saying I've been an X Men fan since 1989. So for nearly 40 years, I have loved the X Men. I've loved the character of Jean Grey, whether it was Jean Grey, Marvel Girl, Phoenix, Dark Phoenix, doesn't matter, right? When she was the Black Queen, I've loved her in all of those roles. I even think that Sadie Sink is a great casting here. It's funny because I actually wrote a fan casting for the MCU's X Men about 2 years ago, and I brought up Sadie Sink for the Jean Grey role. I thought back then, when she first had shown up in Stranger Things, that she was a great young actress that could really pull off that part. So you're welcome, MCU. So why is this in the ugly category then? Because the writers made her evil. I understand that she's angry, that she's distraught from her sister being killed, and I can absolve some of her behavior because of that, especially since in canon, when Professor X does find Jean, she's out of control, and he has to place some mental blocks on her powers until she can kind of mature into them. But nothing, and I mean nothing, excuses the mental terrorism that she inflicts on Peter when he saves MJ. There's a scene here where she possesses MJ and then pretends to remember everything and kisses Peter, and you can see Peter just the relief, the 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 strain that he's gone through being without MJ, being without Ned, right? Because the spell that he sacrificed to save everyone and to keep everyone safe has taken such a toll on him, which she knows. She was in his mind and she was in MJ's mind. She knows what's been done. And yet, knowing all that, she pretends to be MJ, kisses him, tells him she missed him so much, right? And then tears his heart in two. She laughs. She tells him he's naive. Like did he really think this was a fairy tale and that true love's kiss was going to save everything? This is evil. It's vindictive, it's callous, and it was at that point that I looked at the screen and I said, "Oh, she needs to die." Like I was all aboard the bringing Jean Grey in bandwagon until there was that characterization. This is not Jean Grey at all, right? Even an angry, hurt Jean Grey is not going to act like this, right? You just push the character past the redemption point, and that was ugly to me, and it did really take its toll. I feel like. So speaking of taking its toll, let's get to my grade. As you can see, there was much more good in this movie than bad or ugly. And this was really my favorite Marvel superhero film in many years. Again, done by Sony, but it's still the Marvel characters. So I'm giving Spider-Man Brand New Day an A minus. That's a really good grade. You've been following the podcast. We don't give out grades super easy, A's especially. But A minus is a solid grade. I'm going to be honest, if it weren't for the terrible writing of Jean Grey, specifically that scene where she tears Peter's heart out, I think I would have given this a straight A. But what were your thoughts on the film? What did you think? Leave me a like and tell me what you would have graded this movie in the comments. Did you agree with my good, my bad, my uglies, or did you have some of your own? You know what? Until next time, I'm Steve. This has been Stop Ruining My Childhood. And remember, nostalgia is not a crime.